So thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for inviting us.
And I want to say thank you to everybody, listeners of Power Talk, who came by a few weekends ago out at Direct Appliance, and Ron and Colleen there were so nice to let us have it right there in the parking lot, and they gave $1,000 of that. Direct Appliance did, and also money from proceeds of their sales that day, certain proceeds. But they were the people that came out with the $5 bills, the $3, the $20, a couple checks for $100. But it was a lot of people with a lot of little money that came together. Lily, can you give us a final update on the Butte fire?
Yes. So the fire broke out on September 9th, and the American Red Cross was there from the get-go. The recovery process has begun. In fact, it began about a week ago over in Calaveras and Amador. The latest is that we opened a client assistance center over in Calaveras, along with the Calaveras County. And so we're providing direct clients assistance. We're providing cleanup supplies so that people can go up to their properties and maybe sift through the property and see if they find something of value. We provide sifters and rakes, etc., as well as sometimes in some occasions financial assistance. And something super important is that we provide comfort. We have trained mental health caseworkers that will sit with them and will help them grieve and go through the process, which is going to be long.
And see, what a process. And I can barely relate to it. I had a moving company, which we'll leave unnamed, heist some electronics. And in those electronics had my home videos of my daughter firstborn, all of that irreplaceable. And I know that little feeling of that loss, I can't imagine times 1,000 here. With these folks up there. It's a tough gig you guys got. You get to see the heartbreak and all that's going on. Rich, you just came in from Utah, I heard, right?
Yeah, I did. I'm based in Salt Lake City. I've come out to assist here. And, it's important for people to know that the Red Cross, we were here before, during, and after this event. So you talked about losing things. We constantly preach preparedness, so prepare for disaster. Then we respond, and then, as Lily pointed out, now we're segueing into a recovery plan. It's long term. We're going to be here for quite some time with this.
Yeah, and across, you're in Utah. There's some big in the Northwest this summer. On the scale of summer fires, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being actual hell, based on the last, say, decade or so, has this been an extra hot one?
This has been one of the worst wildfires in California history. Our neighbors over in in Lake County have
the Napa one?
Napa, which is Lake Sonoma. That's the Valley Fire. That's the third most destructive wildfire in California history, and the Butte Fire is actually also in the top 10. Why? Because of the amount of property that was lost. The California drought has not been helpful in not having these wildfires. We know that everything's dry and everything can spark. So we are asking again, this is. I'm sorry that I'm rambling, but when we went to meet with people that have suffered, they said, this is the wildfire that people told us about for years, and we never prepared, and now we're paying the consequences.
How should we have prepared? How do you prepare for a fire?
Well, that's a great question. Make a kit, have a plan, and be informed is kind of the broad brush stroke. But you want to be prepared. If you have to go, if you have to evacuate, you want to be able to take what you need quickly, think it through. The best resource that we can recommend, because there's a lot of preparedness info, is we're really big on apps. And we have a wildfire app. It's free download at your favorite store. It's got great information. How do you prepare? What do you take? How long should you prepare for? So if you get that app, it's going to walk you through preparation, then during, with real-time information, and then, of course, the recovery process.
All right. Lily, paint the scene of what the Red Cross did up there. Do I see cots being set up and tents and meals?
Yeah, all of the above. The American Red Cross, we, as soon as the fire broke out, we set up shelter, and we partner with organizations like the Jackson Rancheria over in Amador County. They said, hey, you know what? We need that there's going to be a lot of people that are evacuated. Use our casino and resort as a shelter. So we opened a shelter there. Also, Frogtown over in Calaveras. We had to evacuate from there because the fire was actually going in that direction after the second day that we opened it. And then that's when we opened more shelters over in Valley Springs. So we had a total of 3 running shelters. We provided, obviously, a place for them to sleep, some food snacks, water. Very important are nurses because people leave and they don't get their medications. So our nurses are able to help them, find medications.
I never thought of that.
You know,
fire come and run.
Glasses.
You
know.
might have
Glasses.
like 8 pills in your purse or something,
and that's if
yeah.
you do. But there's so many of them. I mean, there's so many anecdotes that I'm hearing from people that they just make you cry because they tell us how they got on their trucks and they were just speeding fast and they could see the fire right behind them, destructing everything. So, I mean, these people don't even have glasses. They don't have a change of clothes. So we are able to provide them with the immediate needs. And we also have very trained personnel that have been, that know how to deal with disaster and grief. And that's something that people take for granted. So the Red Cross is known to provide food, shelter, and comfort.
All right. Now, the fire chief was in here from Modesto, Chief Slayman, talking about that lake fire up there in Napa, the fastest moving that they had ever. It was like, was it 40,000 acres in 12 hours? It just took off like a banshee.
Yeah, so the Butte fire broke out on the 9th. The lake or valley fire broke out on the 12th. On the 12th, the Butte fire had consumed 60,000 acres. On the first or second day, the valley fire had consumed more than 65,000 acres. So, I mean, it just spread so rapidly. But that's exactly what wildfires do in conditions that we are living right now, which is dry, very, very dry.
All right. I had some people also ask me, why are we having to come to the public for money, the Red Cross for money? Why? Where's the state money? Has it been depleted because of so many fires this summer?
Well, first, a lot of people misunderstand the Red Cross. We're not funded by the government. We're not really affiliated with the government. So we do collaborate with state and federal agencies. Emergency management. FEMA has arrived because it was declared a national disaster. So there are significant resources available for people to begin rebuilding their lives. So what we do, we're in a position to collaborate and refer. If people come to us, we say, okay, look, you need this. You need an animal shelter. You need here's how you register with FEMA. So as Lily pointed out, we're very collaborative. We connect with all these agencies, but everybody plays their role. And FEMA is a good example of a federal role.
All right. And also, I had thank you, Rich, for that answer. I had a few people ask me, I have a check here to the Red Cross I'm going to make out. I don't want it to go to tornado relief in Oklahoma. I want to make sure it stays with the fire relief here. And I told them to write in the subject line, fire or Butte fire, whatever. How does that work?
Well, that's a great question because we've been asked that question from day one. And our community wants to help our community, and that's completely understood. So we honor donor intent, plain and simple. Any designated funds that we raise beyond what's needed for emergency relief at this point is going to be put to serving the recovery and disaster preparedness needs of the affected communities. So, they're going to go towards the California wildfires. Why? Because there's a lot of wildfires in the state. I mean, we had the Valley Fire, the Rough Fire in Fresno, which was burning for weeks even before the Butte Fire started. And our community is our community, and we're going to help them, through the before, during, and after.
Yeah. All right. Well, $2,500, probably not the biggest check you've gotten, but that's what the listeners came out and gave. So from them, there you go. It sure enough does.
Absolutely. And I just want to mention that since evacuations were first order, we've had, here in the studio, we have Rich from Utah and we have Michelle from Southern California. And they're volunteers. Michelle's a volunteer. They're coming over. Everybody's coming together to help during this disaster. And that's what a lot of people don't know, that 96% of our workforce are volunteers like Michelle.
Well, in the future here, Lily, if, say, a fire bust out 30 miles to the east here and people okay, I want to help, I want to give some money, but they can do more?
They can do more. Absolutely.
Right when the event's breaking down, they don't have to go to training and wait and say, they can actually come out and say, give me a shovel? How's that work?
No, and that's why we have community partners. So the Calaveras or the Mountain Ranch community over in Calaveras County is a great example that, since they know what the Red Cross does, they said, well, you know what, we're going to put together this in-kind donations, resource center where everybody can help and donate. And that's what the American Red Cross does. We find partners so that everybody can do something. And the Red Cross is not just a one-stop shop. We are one piece of the puzzle in the disaster process. We have partners, and I have a great community, and so we're just asking everybody to be part of the community and volunteer for the Red Cross.
All right, when's the so-called fire season looking like it's going to turn off here?
Well,
late November, I guess after the first big huge rain, right? If we get one. So.
If we get one, but we haven't had a significant rain for it's going to be 5 years in December. We're in an extreme state of drought, so we know that fire season, quote unquote, there hasn't been a fire season. Technically, it's usually during September and October, which are the driest months, but we've been dry for 4 years. So our land is ready to spark, and so we need to be very careful. When you're driving, don't throw that cigarette butt. When you're mowing your lawn, make sure that you do it when you have high humidity in your grass. There's so many tips that we can give you on how to prevent wildfires.
All right, you guys might have been up dealing with airports, but word is, and I can vouch for this, that about three and a half hours ago, I was sitting there prepping for the show in my bedroom with the window open on the little couch like I do every day, and I heard drip.
Yep.
Drip. I went, what? I got all excited. I got up like a little kid. It was snowing before Christmas. I was like, it's raining. It's raining. Think of a 5 or 6, 7-year-old who's lived in California. Your first memories might be 3, 4, something like that. Hadn't rained for 4 years. These 8-year-olds have never played in the rain.
Yeah, and if I may, I have an anecdote on that, because I have a 3-year-old who, when it rained back in December.
February was the first weekend I arrived in California, and it was NOAA rain. I mean, it came down, so I remember that rain.
So my son was like, "What's this, Mommy?" I was just like, "Oh, it's called rain, honey. We should be having more of this."
That's right. Back in December, it did kind of flood out here.
Yeah,
there was
we had
some
some
big
bad
rains.
floods, yeah.
Yeah, because I was back east going, well, I guess the problem's been taken care of now. No.
However, it needs to rain for, a good consecutive amount of months for the drought to be over. I mean, these little tiny, sprinkles that we're getting right now.
I talked to these AccuWeather meteorologists. They say if El Nino just dumps on California, we're nowhere even out of it yet. It's just that's what we want. Guys, thank you so much for what you're doing. And
hey, thank you. I just want to shout out to media. You guys have been so supportive. Radio, television has made a huge difference in our efforts.
All right there. Rich Woodruff, Public Affairs with the Red Cross, Lily White, spokesperson of the American Red Cross. We're back in a minute here on Power Talk, talking about another battle going on right over in Syria. Back in a minute.